course. It was written by me, and it was actually produced with a guy named Jay Renz, who I met in my group that I created, United Singers, Artists, and Songwriters Association. I did it purposely because people always make groups, and they don't really function in their groups. They go outside their groups, and I'm really big on trying to support everyone. And so if we can, as I said earlier, dream together, we can all do like something super huge and do what we love. And so Come Through is a love song.
And here it is.
Waking up at 3 in the morning, I keep seeing your face, but you're not here. You're sleeping at your place. I want you here with me. You see, I hit up your line, hotline bleed. We're both under the same vibe. How you want it, I got it, baby. So what we gon' do? You coming through? I got what you want when you want it, how you want it. I got it, baby. So what we gon' do? You gon' come through?
This is Come Through, Cal Marshall. Okay. Listen, I already listened to the song earlier. I was vibing with it earlier. All right, let me know what you guys think. Deborah Court says, nice voice. Okay. Listen, I want everybody to know, Penny Thompson says, I love this song. Feel good vibe to it. Absolutely, absolutely. What's next for you? I also have this thing where I tell people what not to miss. You have a lot that's on the horizon. So what don't you want people to miss? What do you have coming up next?
Okay, so what's coming up next is I'm about to become a part of history.
Okay, tell me. You got to give me we got a couple minutes.
On August 12th, I'll be in Chicago, Illinois. I'll be in my hometown of Wheeling, Illinois, and I'll be the first African-American in history to record a live album in that city. I'll be doing a live album with some of the songs that I have already released and new songs that have not been released. So August 12th, that will happen, and then there will be a new album coming out by the end of the year. So I'm super excited. I'm super grateful, and yeah, I'm just happy.
Yeah, you have such an infectious spirit. I love it. I appreciate you for making your way here, for sharing your gift with us, your music with us, and the world. And I also appreciate, go ahead, say it.
And today we made history. This is the first time my song has ever been played on the radio in Los Angeles.
KBLA,
so thank you, KBLA,
Santa Monica.
Talk Radio.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Ohio, a former Cincinnati police officer failed to get her job back after being fired for using a racial slur. Rose Valentino was caught on her body camera using a racial slur directed toward a black person in April of 2022. After a review, she was fired in August. Valentino then filed a grievance asking for her job back, stating that several other officers who were caught using a racial slur were not fired. Teenagers can now have their own Uber accounts. The new feature allows for teens to request their own rides or to order food. The special accounts can be supervised by parents through the family profile in the Uber app. A parent with an active profile can send an invite to their teen to create the account. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Wendy's is open until midnight or later, which means all your favorite menu items are up later too. The Baconator still tastes just as juicy and bacony at night. So listen to that craving and turn in for the night at a Wendy's drive-thru. Hours may vary at participating U.S. Wendy's.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers might want to rethink their interest in Portland star Damian Lillard. Lillard's agent Aaron Goodwin is telling every NBA team except the Miami Heat to stop trade talks with Portland. Lillard has said Miami is the only team he wants to play for after demanding a trade from the Trailblazers. The Clippers, Philadelphia, and Miami are among the teams trying to put together a trade package for the seven-time All-Star. The next match at Wimbledon for Francis Tiafoe is Saturday morning against Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria. Tiafoe is the only Black American male tennis player ranked in the top 10 in the world. Tomorrow night at 7 here on KBLA Talk 1580, join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough, the editor extraordinaire for Out of Bounds. You can be a part of the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
2 years ago, on Juneteenth 2021, KBLA Talk 1580 launched with a promise to give disenfranchised fellow citizens a voice in current political, economic, social, and cultural issues with an empowering, sustainable, and restorative language.
Everybody's got a little light under the sun, under the sun, under the sun, under the
As we enter our third year, we are delighted that KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerges as the talk station of choice for African American listeners. In a vigorous public opinion research study, the 2023 African American Media Issues Survey finds that for the second consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 remains the most trusted, credible, and reliable media source in Southern California for African Americans and beyond. Furthermore, 80% of those surveyed agree that outlets like KBLA Talk 1580 provide honest and authentic content about the issues most important to the Black community directly from Black journalists who understand the issues that need to be addressed. At KBLA Talk 1580, we remain committed to curating conversations that matter to you. Thank you for your continued support. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. The station that sounds like the city looks.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, ma. House shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
First things first.
First things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not 2 and 7. Let's go. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Smiling, making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is First Things First. And my first thing every day, giving thanks, giving praise, asking for blessings from the Most High, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders. And let's go. Don't get disgruntled. Me and Sherry was just doing a little movie. We're doing a little video production back here.
Your directorship.
Yeah, I was getting my directorial debut on for some BTS footage, which we will share with you later today. The show is called First Things First. You know that. And it's Friday. It's every other Friday, so it must be Sherry Bell in the house, labor organizer and KBLA contributor. Great to see you.
Great to see you. Welcome back from the motherland, Dominique.
Thank you. I'm only halfway back. My brain is still in Mosioatunya Falls.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
Sounds
no,
beautiful.
I'm happy to be here and happy to have you.
Thank you.
You know how we do. Hour 1, local, mostly local, whatever else happens. Hour 2, national, international, and beyond. And in the third hour, we do a deep dive with a person or persons of interest. Today, we are actually sticking to the formula, believe it or not. And we'll be joined in hour 3 by a representative from the NAACP, who's also an attorney, Kyle Bowser. He'll have a lot to say about a lot of things, from the Supreme Court to the sale of the Black Entertainment Television. So looking forward to that conversation. Sherry, man, I can't leave you guys alone for a minute. It's like I leave town and all hell breaks loose.
That's what it seemed like, Dominique. But you was holding it down. I was listening to you. You was spitting fire through the microphone.
Oh, thank you. You know, I had this little dread feeling like I have to go back to a country with no affirmative action.
Oh, my gosh.
Where a Republican judge can overturn the rights of Black Lives Matter grassroots, where current price is still embattled.
Wow.
You know, just a lot of terrible decisions. On the other hand, we are continuing to make some progress.
Right.
And the labor unrest, as we call it, or really the labor people standing up for their rights is continuing right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, people are sick and tired of, you know, working hard and making less, CEOs amassing massive profits to please their shareholders, while the people who are creating the profits, wages aren't going up and the cost of living is going up. And it's a formula that doesn't make sense. And, you know, people are tired of it, and I'm happy to see it. And how could I say, the encouraging news is that we've seen in recent times when workers stand up and, you know, protest the unfair working conditions, that we have seen some wins, like as with the teachers union earlier this year.
Yeah, the teachers union here, and also the teachers union in the Bay Area with a big victory as well. So that's good news. I hope people are tracking this UPS strike, because if the Teamsters go out on UPS, y'all not getting no deliveries. You can forget about that. And I really think this would be a great time for the Biden administration to step in and show their labor bona fides.
Right, like Mayor Bass did with the port strike, right? Came in and helped with some of those negotiations, got things resolved. They say will be the largest strike in U.S. history, perhaps, because of the amount of workers that actually work for UPS. So, I mean, and they're a part of like fueling this capitalist society, right? People buying things, people, production and supply and demand, like they're fueling a lot of that, and yet they're working hard, bending over, lifting, no air conditioners in the car. It's like, come on, people. Like,
and so we can stay in our houses and get what we want.
Right.
But the other thing about that is we've heard so much about supply chain and how part of the inflation formula for disaster that we're all living through right now with these ridiculously high gas bills, where you need a payment plan for your gas bill right now in LA, is the supply chain disruptions that we saw during COVID. And if the Biden administration allows this strike to go down, it's going to be a big problem for 2024 and his reelection, because it's going to impact prices again. It's going to be another disruption in the supply chain. And I think Democrats need to get the heck ahead of this right now, right freaking now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I do know that also the acting Secretary of Labor, Julie Su, also did step in for the pork strike. So I know that like labor is their wheelhouse. So hopefully there's some talking behind the scenes, because like you said, it will be disastrous. And I'm sure UPS does things that matter on a great level that we don't even know about.
That's a good point.
Right.
Yeah. Like all the stuff that's coming in from overseas. Remember when we didn't have any computer chips for a while, and everything was just like, I mean, they had to pass a whole bill about it, a whole legislation about it.
Oh,
I think
yes, I remember that.
it could be on that level, to your point about what we don't know that they do, that they bring in and such. And then, of course, Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, my union, which, by the way, we just got surveys in the mail yesterday about whether we'd be willing to walk picket lines and all that. So it doesn't mean they're going on strike or we're going on strike, but it means we are preparing, and clearly SAG-AFTRA is 100% prepared if we got to walk out.
I mean, it's getting to a point where this whole thing about CEOs and the amassed profits that the workers are generating is becoming increasingly larger from like what the people doing the work are taking home.
Yeah.
And people are getting tired of it because it doesn't make sense. Production is at an all-time high. Profits are at an all-time high, and people at the top want to hoard them. And honestly, this seems to be, I don't want to say the only way, but it seems to be one of the only ways at this time to shake some fruit from that tree to fall down for the rest of us.
I mean, and the thing about it is it's not just that we're tired of it. It's not sustainable.
Right.
When workers can't live in the cities where they work, where they are considered essential to, move packages, mow lawns, watch children, attend a grocery store, then that's not a sustainable model. Now we're in, Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake territory, where the ruling class, the very wealthy, are so out of touch with the realities of the everyday person who's trying to make ends and feed their kids, that's how governments topple. And I'm not saying topple, this system, although there's parts of it that I certainly would like to see go away forever. But But that's what happens. I mean, it's not me. Look at the history books. When the gap becomes too wide, when the people that are needed to keep the society going cannot live, cannot make a decent living, working 2 jobs and more, that's not sustainable.
Right. I mean, there's a disconnect, right, with CEOs trying to please their shareholders, but there's also a disconnect with this business model of real estate and renting and building developments like luxury apartments, right?
Building for people that don't exist.
Building for people that don't exist and don't need to live where they work, right? So you have these people who are given the green light to build these luxury apartments. They're expensive, while people who work in these neighborhoods are being priced out with nowhere to go. So it's like, it's all about profit, business model, and it's local government needs to step in and be like, hold up. My district has a problem here. The people who live here, the people who work here can't afford to be here, and you have to pump the brakes. Like, we got enough of these luxury apartments.
We have so many vacant luxury apartments in Los Angeles. Yeah,
right.
Great points. Sherry Bell is with me, and you're welcome in. Love to hear from you every day, but especially on a Friday. 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580 is KBLA Talk 1580, unapologetically what? Progressive.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So, Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership. It's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community. And it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
Wireless headphones. That'll be $200.
I'll use my Capital One Quicksilver card.
Now that's a hit. You used the Capital One Quicksilver card, which makes you the hero of every purchase. With Quicksilver, you earn unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere.
I wanted running music, but unlimited 1.5% cash back is pretty heroic.
Good instincts. Every hero needs a theme song. The Capital One Quicksilver card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Don't settle for bumps, ingrowns, and itch due to dry skin. Venus for Pubic Hair and Skin is here with the only razor and regimen specifically designed for your pubic area, featuring a razor with a patented irritation defense bar and skincare regimen that is dermatologist and gynecologist tested. Venus helps protect your pubic skin from shave irritation. Visit GilletteVenus.com to learn more about our full regimen of products.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
All right, deep conversations going on. BTS, Sherry Bell is here, and of course I'm here. Happy Friday. You're invited into the convo, 800-920-1580. 800-920-1580. I'm excited because Black Lives Matter is having the big thingy thing.
Oh, yeah.
Black Lives Matter turning 10. That's a week from Saturday. It is called the People's Justice Festival.
Wow.
So I know you'll be there because I always see you at every protest.
Yep.
I know you're at more of them than I am because you can't be at every one I'm at and not be at a few more. But that should be good because it's going to be music and vendors out there selling stuff and workshops, calls to action. Dr. Cornel West is speaking, or as some folks like to call him, the president. And yeah, should be quite good. And I know more and more, artists and activists are being added to the lineup every day. Plus, lots and lots of families impacted, including Trayvon Martin's mom, who will be speaking.
Wow.
Sabrina Fulton. So really just an important day, 12 to 6, Saturday in Leimert Park.
Yeah, wow. BLM LA Grassroots is turning 10. I remember in 2013 being at LA City Hall, big crowd, protesting the the acquittal of George Zimmerman for the murder of Trayvon Martin. It's a very emotional and pivotal time in many people's lives, and it's really it's encouraging that BLMLA is still going strong, right? BLMLA grassroots, but it's unfortunate that the conditions are still the same. However, it's really empowering to know that the impact that has been made with like legislation and accountability and reallocation of funds within this 10-year period, a lot of great things have been happening.
I think that's an important thing to highlight, because there's this sense with, the Republican judge ruling that trying to hold the Global Network Foundation accountable for taking money and social media platforms and the good name of Black Lives Matter that don't belong to them amounts to a free speech violation by grassroots. The fact that there's been so many attacks by the conservative press, like the right-wing rag, the New York Post, and others, and the fact that you don't see so many people in the streets makes some folks think, oh, well, that's over. There was a report that came out that said Black Lives Matter donations are on the decline. Well, so is the NAACP, the ACLU, the Urban League. People are just not as fired up as they were in 2020, and we're dealing with inflation. But all of that said, the progress has been tremendous, and the work continues. And that's what I think, people forget. And we got to remind folks, this is not over.
Right.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to talk about, and so many things that happened while I was gone. I didn't get a chance to get your take on the District Attorney of Los Angeles going after Councilmember Curran Price with some charges that, I don't know. I feel like it's so over the top, and Councilmember Marquise Harris Dawson saying that it seems like Black people are being hunted in our city.
Right. Yeah, it just seems like things that once probably would have been handled internally, perhaps, or without criminal charges or involvement, are now being like lifted up in the media as being like egregious breakings of laws, and I'm not trying to downplay like the severity of like being unethical or whatever when you're in political office. However, the fact that like the same with Mark Ridley Thomas, just like the connection between what they're accusing the person of and like their job and what the power that they have over certain things, is a disconnect. It seems like not as like, how can I say, all the great work that Curran Price has done over the years has come down to his wife's business involvement with some people who have some development. But
to me, the charges are just thin. I mean, You're saying he got benefits for his wife even though he wasn't fully divorced from his previous wife.
Petty.
But he's living with the woman. She's certainly his domestic partner by California law. So then now you're just like, that to me is petty. I mean, it's small fish. You're gonna take down another important Black lawmaker who has done good work. And I admit I do have a certain amount of bias because I've been up close and personal watching Curran Price be effective for Black people and Latino people in his district, being fair, showing up. He's always there. He's at every community event. He's very accessible. And then the other thing is, voting on contracts that may have benefited his wife. And like I said yesterday, she's his wife when it comes to contracts, but you want to say she's not his wife when it comes to the benefits. So which one is it?
Right.
But those, as many people have pointed out, are consent votes. So they were not controversial. Everyone in the whole council voted yes on a simple voice vote. So it's,
Yeah, it's hard to like avoid not doing anything wrong, or perceived to be wrong. It's like when people want to get you in trouble, or they're gonna find anything to try to do that with. And this is just an example of that, to suspend him. And I don't think it appears that this was a surprise to him. Like he didn't even know.
Because the FBI
declined to file charges. The FBI didn't charge him. So for our progressive district attorney to make that move, I'm like, why? Based on what? I need more answers. I really do.
He under fire for some other stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe trying to take the heat off and look like he want to, hold everybody to the same thing. But this is fishing. It's a shame. Like how come the FBI didn't want to charge you, but you did?
So to me, the message is clear. If you're black, you have to be 100% perfect at all times.
That's right.
Everybody else, as you were.
Right, because look at Eric Garcetti, right? He had those, right?
Gonna make me fall out my chair.
Serious stuff. Like he was accused of not intervening with sexual harassment stuff. There was
and some other stuff that never came all the way out, but was bubbling underneath the surface.
Yeah, right.
As almost reported in the LA Times. Yeah,
and it got squashed and got put aside, and he still was able to be the ambassador to India.
It's an interesting example there, Sherry Bell. Morris from Inglewood, you have the mic.
Inglewood, and you all were talking about this. Let me tell you, the city of Inglewood. They're going to be giving. You know about this, Dominique. We talked about this years ago. Steve Ballmer is going to give the city of Inglewood $100 million. $100 million. Now check this out. I know y'all know math. He's going to give the developers $75 million, right, to develop them luxury places you was talking about that nobody can afford moving into.
Mm-hmm.
And you might say, well, wait a minute. Why won't the people stand up and do something? Well, you got to look at how the game is rigged. You see, there were 3 major Supreme Court rulings by an unethical Supreme Court. The most major ruling called Citizens United, where a person with money can come into your community. Let's say that Dominique DiPrima is going to run for mayor. We can come into the city of Inglewood, put Dominique DiPrima up for mayor, and we can put all the money in the world behind her legally. Now, in 1908, you would have went to prison for doing that in Michigan. But again, after those 3 Supreme Court rulings, particularly Citizens United, public officials no longer work for us. Okay, they work for what are called donors. We can't get mad. We got to understand the game. They work for the donors. Now, what I think we should do, I love me some Black Lives Matter. What we should do is set up a situation where we can drop 1,000 people anywhere. We can get 1,000 people together to protest anywhere. That's what I do. 1,000 people anywhere. Being cool. I like to wear a suit and tie when I protest, and let the people know that, hey man, we behind you. Particularly this brother Price. Look, nothing has changed. We've always been profiled. We've always been targeted, and there will always be a manufactured crisis, right, to undermine us. We've always been profiled, targeted, so nothing has changed. Back in the day, when I had some hair, I used to wear afro in the 60s. They had a thing called urban renewal. Well, what it translated into was Negro, because that's what we was called back then, Negro removal. So nothing has changed.
No, today we call it gentrification. Or development. Yeah, interesting points, Morris. I think if we could instantly manifest 1,000 people anywhere, anytime, that would be good. That takes actual conscious organization building. It's not just social media posts and wishes. It's, the kind of work actually that Councilmember Margaret Lee Thomas did so well, which is, that and that you do so well, Sherry. Labor organizing, signing people up,
phone calls,
showing,
turning them out, and I think that's right. I mean, that's what De Leon was disparagingly saying, that it's always 25 of us, but what he doesn't understand is even if it was just 25, for each one of those, there's another 500 to 1,000 somewhere at a job that can't come because they don't have the means, but they certainly have the desire. We got news, traffic, and sports right now, then more conversation. It's KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk about.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Good morning, I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Tampa, Florida, a grieving father has a message for whoever fired the stray bullet that killed his son. A vigil was held yesterday in Tampa for 7-year-old Yitzian Torres, who was killed Tuesday on the Courtney Campbell Causeway when he was hit in the head by a stray bullet fired during an argument between two groups. In California, a former assistant principal is suing Donda Academy. That's the private school founded by the African-American artist formerly known as Kanye West. A new lawsuit says the school was in violation of several health and safety codes and claims teachers face retaliation after reporting issues. Donda Academy was first opened as Yeezy Christian Academy in Simi Valley in 2020. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Wendy's is open until midnight or later, which means all your favorite menu items are up later too. The Baconator still tastes just as juicy and bacony at night. So listen to that craving and turn in for the night at a Wendy's drive-thru. Hours may vary at participating U.S. Wendy's.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers might want to rethink their interest in Portland star Damian Lillard. Lillard's agent Aaron Goodwin is telling every NBA team except the Miami Heat to stop trade talks with Portland. Lillard has said Miami is the only team he wants to play for after demanding a trade from the Trailblazers. The Clippers, Philadelphia, and Miami are among the teams trying to put together a trade package for the 7-time All-Star. The next match at Wimbledon for Francis Tiafoe is Saturday morning against Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria. Tiafoe is the only Black American male tennis player ranked in the top 10 in the world. Tomorrow night at 7 here on KBLA Talk 1580, join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough, the editor extraordinaire for Out of Bounds. You can be a part of the conversation at 1-800-920-1580. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Where are we on the lineup?
It's official. Avery is producing Main Street Music Days.
We need to be ready. We're going to have lots of people. What's the status on the new sound engineer?
They need an audio technician to keep things level from sound checks to encores.
Make sure audio from one stage does not compete with another.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates, and you can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you struggle with occasional nerve aches in your hands or feet? Try Nervive Nerve Relief from the world's #1 nerve care company. Nervive tablets contain alpha-lipoic acid to relieve nerve aches, weakness, and discomfort, plus B-complex vitamins to support healthy nerve function as you age. Live life with less nerve discomfort with Nervive Nerve Relief. Learn more at nervivehealth.com. And try Nervive Pain Relieving Cream to block nerve pain signals at the source. Use as directed.
When I can't sleep, my mind just races. I think about work, the kids, but I don't think about taking melatonin because I'm afraid I'll feel groggy in the morning.
ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies has an optimal dose of melatonin for no next-day grogginess, so you can fall asleep naturally and wake up feeling refreshed. ZzzQuil Pure Z's Gummies for better sleep like never before. And try Pure Z Sleep plus Next Day Energy with melatonin plus extended release B vitamins.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the voice of reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the voice of reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, with an auto warranty about to expire, or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost, month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-381-8528 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-381-8528. That's 800-381-8528. What do you have to lose? Call 800-381-8528. Again, 800-381-8528.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Man, so many crazy things going on in the world, and we're apparently going to get hit with another insane climate crisis week next week. They're saying starting Wednesday. So drink your water, start now. And if you're like me with no air in your house, find a friend that has one or one of those cooling stations, or make arrangements to go to the library or something where there's some air. I didn't realize that the 3rd, the day before Independence Day, was the hottest day in world history.
What?
Globally, yeah. And apparently scientists are freaked out because we've had a series of these very, very hot days, which we knew there was a crisis, but it's almost like a sudden acceleration. So,
you know, it's those conspiracy theorists out there that think there's people who control the weather.
For sure. Well, if they do, we're in luck, because they can make it, trend down when it gets too hot. But right now, it doesn't seem like it. I mean,
wow, it's just climate change that some people don't want to admit exists.
Yeah, it's a crisis. I mean, the science is there. But anyway, get ready for that next week.
Wow.
Mayor Karen Bass has signed an ordinance yesterday updating the city's zoning to take all of the affordable housing units away from the site plan review process, which can, delay housing. So it's kind of what you were talking about, in the sense of at least giving priority to folks that are trying to build housing for the workers. There's always the wrangle about what is considered affordable. Is it based on the median? Is it based on, who's living in that particular neighborhood? But this is a good thing, because it's going to speed up the pipeline of stuff that's not luxury housing.
Right. I remember her talking about this. So, I mean, she is like acting on what she stated in her campaign and in her first 100 days of elections. So, I got to give her props on that, like to expedite the building and, cutting that red tape, because like this, we do have a housing crisis, right? So there's a sense of urgency. So that's good.
Absolutely. And apparently was co-written by Council President Paul Krikorian and Council President pro tempore Marquise Harris Dawson. So, it's still such a huge project, tackling houselessness.
Right.
But apparently this is part of the plan. And, it's part of the thing that concerns me is that some of the measures that are there to help people, they don't even know about them. Some of the things that the mayor has done, that the city council has passed, tenant protections to keep people in their homes. So, because once you become houseless, it's a lot more expensive and time consuming to get back into a home than staying where you are. The ordinance is also supposed to help waive the 150,000 square feet of commercial development, so that if it's a mixed-use development, as long as half of the floor plan is used for affordable housing, it would speed up the process. So in other words, if you're going to build a mall or some kind of development, and 50% of that is housing, affordable housing, then you can get expedited. And I think that's smart, because I feel like some developers who are pushing through a mall or other kind of project would put in affordable housing just to speed it up,
Right.
where they might not do it otherwise.
I mean, that needs enforcement and oversight as well,
Yeah.
right? To ensure that they really are creating affordable units and like being fair, because those processes are very competitive still, right? Because the lottery system and whatnot. And, you know, I think it's a difference between affordable and then like low income.
Yeah.
Right. So affordable is like based off the median income for a certain area. And like some people don't make that much money. They make below that. And so they might not be qualified. So it has to be like a dual track of like affordable housing for like people who are working, you know, in like, you know, quote unquote middle class or close to middle class. And those people who are like on public assistance are working minimum wage jobs. Because if you're on public assistance and working minimum wage jobs, you will not qualify to live in an affordable housing unit based on their criteria.
Yeah, not only that, I feel like a lot of times, and this is not based on data, this is based on what I have seen and heard myself as a resident of Los Angeles, that a lot of times it seems like those affordable or low income units within the big developments where you have a condo development, there's just 1 or 2 or 3 units.
Right.
I don't know who they're going to. They don't seem to be going to anybody in the community.
How do you know? Like, who knows? You know, and
Black people seem to be the last to know. And since we're not allowed to designate that these units have to go to Black people or Latino people,
right.
I'm aware of situations where folks from other communities are actually moving in to our neighborhoods to take advantage of affordable housing, low income housing units when they're not made available to the residents. Sometimes I wonder if they're made available at all. So you're right about enforcement.
Ooh-wee, that is just some other scamming that can happen. So yeah, the intentionality behind that needs to be seen through.
Yeah, and it does make you wonder what needs to be done to, or how much enforcement needs to be done, because there's so many things that are shady with the housing market right now. And I feel like a lot of people would sell their mom to get a decent place to live at this point with the way that the prices are. And I have talked to several of my friends who have been priced out of their units, do not realize that they're probably eligible to get moving relocation costs from their landlords. Because, for example, if your rent goes up 10% or more and you can't afford it, even if that apartment is not rent controlled, the landlord can raise the rent by 10% or more, although they're not supposed to do it right now. But if they do, and you can't afford it, they still have to give you relocation fees, even if you're choosing to move because you can't afford the rent, for example, right? And all of these other things that are in place now, protections, there's, I think it's stayhousedla.gov or stayhousedla.org, and, help for people who are getting evicted. I mean, so many new things in place that folks need to check out that I'm concerned people aren't taking advantage of. And then I know a lot of people who have tried to get an apartment and they keep applying for places. Right. There's an application fee.
Oh,
I think those landlords in many cases do not intend it's already rented out,
it's
or they don't. Yeah.
And they make you like the credit check, like they say that you got to pay for that.
Right, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So if they've already rented out the place or they have no intention of, how do you enforce that? Because really what they're doing is just preying on low income folks.
Yeah, and like they just grab. But you know what? They don't have to, because all people who rent apartments out, they don't all have application fees. So it seems like that's an optional thing,
right,
that people do to come up.
You're allowed to do it, right?
Right.
But so that's what I'm saying, the kind of shady stuff. How do you regulate that? How do you stop someone from continuing to have open houses after they've already rented out an apartment and harvesting fees?
Victim of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like a beautiful location, and it was a competitive, $35, like a group full of people coming in looking at, and you just feel like, you know what? I don't feel right about this,
Right, 20 people just gave you $35.
Right.
Boom, quick come up, $700.
Who's to say you even rented it out at all?
Yeah, I think there needs to be more enforcement around that, because I think there's some predatory. And, my other friends who are landlords say that I'm too biased toward the tenants. And I understand that some mom and pop landlords didn't get the relief that they need. And again, there's another round of relief available to landlords that they have got to apply for it. I don't have that info in front of me right now, but look, you can call the governor's office, you can call, the city, or go on the city website and look into it, because I do agree it's not fair to balance the government's budget on the back of mom and pop landlords. I agree with that, but a lot of the time it's the homeowner, especially the corporate ones, but all of them who are in control. There is some price gouging going on. Let's be real.
That's another problem. Corporations and firms buying up, amassing real estate.
Yeah.
And they really don't care about the family of four who've been living in this community for like 15 years and live and work and being able to stay there. They really don't care. They're looking at like dollar signs. So it just seems to be like it needs to be like an extra level of transparency and accountability.
Yeah. Regulation, real talk, because there's some criminality and unethical shadiness going on. And it's just a shame, because at the same time we're crying about how many unhoused people there are on the streets. We all have to do our part. No matter how small, maybe charge a little less. Maybe don't rip people off with the apartment. Maybe give someone a break.
Yeah.
Some kind of way here or there, because we can't have it both ways. You can't complain that there's no black people left in L.A.
Right.
And there's too many people unhoused on the streets, but then overcharge for your apartment and not give people a break.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in that. Sherry Bell is with me, and you're invited in, 800-920-1580. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
I'm James Alexander, a proud member of AARP. 1967, I was 17. That spring, my friends, the Barcades, and I made Soulfinger. It was a hit. Number 3 on the charts. That summer, we became the Great Otis Redding's Band. First gig, the famed Apollo. That fall, we toured. That winter found me in a morgue identifying the bodies of my bandmates and Otis Redding. My music and their memories bring me joy. The Barcades forever.
What would you call a joy that is as solemn as it is sweet and knows no bounds? A joy that's beautifully rooted in soul and resilience. This is Black Joy, a joy that reflects pride and honor despite every challenge. AARP believes the power of Black joy is limitless, and we celebrate this joy supreme. Join us in celebrating Black joy at aarp.org/Black community.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminding you that we keep us safe. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family was founded to help address domestic violence and sexual assault in the Asian and the Pacific Islander communities. The Center for the Pacific Asian Family's mission is to build healthy and safe communities by addressing the root causes and consequences of family violence and violence against women. They are committed to meeting the specific cultural and language needs of the Asian and Pacific Islander women and their families. CPAF's vision is of an Asian and Pacific Islander community that embraces healthy relationships and works in partnership with other communities to eradicate all forms of violence. To access services, volunteer, or for more info, visit nurturingchange.org. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe everyone deserves to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
To my hometown, my community. Some of you have known me my whole life. Do you notice anything different about the kids in the neighborhood? Ever paid attention? We might start with gifts, money, attention. These are signs. Child trafficking is happening right here in this town. So don't just watch through the window. Pay attention. Because the more we know, the more we'll all know to say no. Learn the signs to look for and how to help at no-to-say-no.com.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
So, Dee from Long Beach started a conversation, which I thought was really interesting, Sherry, about how we're moving more and more towards this tip model, where where companies are asking workers to rely on tips rather than their wages to get by. And I said that I think DoorDash and Instacart or Uber are examples of that because now the suggested tips have gotten higher and higher and higher. The suggested tip now on a DoorDash order is like 33%.
That's a lot.
It's ridiculous. To me, it says they want you to pay their workers so they don't have to pay wages.
Right.
And I think tips are supposed to be icing on the cake. I do not think they are supposed to be wages.
Right, like we are the incentive for the workers. Like usually the employer provides the incentive for the workforce, right, by having benefits, perks, higher wages. But now their incentive is tips from the customers, which is not our responsibility to provide their employees incentives.
Right, and honestly, they're living wages. I mean, because if I have to rely on a tip to pay my light bill, that's too shaky.
Oh, yeah.
So now this restaurant called John and Vinny's, it's a,
I know that on Slauson.
There's one on Slauson, they have another one. It's considered, upscale. It's fancy, whatever. So their servers had filed a class action lawsuit because John and Vinny's has an 18% service fee on all of its bills when you go to the worker. Well, what they say, it's controlled by the restaurant. It's not a tip.
Oh.
So what John and Vinny says is that they distribute among all of the workers so that it's not just the servers, but maybe, office workers or dishwashers who get it. But the workers say that the customers think it's a tip, so they're not leaving them tips anymore, which makes sense. If I see an 18% fee, I'm going to automatically think that's going to be tipped, so I'm not going to tip them. So John and Vinny's has responded by putting an explanation. But I think it's confusing, and the workers say that the people are still not tipping. To me, they shouldn't be putting an 18% fee there.
No.
They should raise their prices by 18% or whatever it is. Whatever it is to cover that cost so they can pay all the workers better. Instead of taking the tips away from the wait staff, they should just charge more. If that's what they need to pay decent wages, then that's what they should do. Not try to trick people into thinking they are giving a tip when they're not.
I think that's an unscrupulous business practice, at its best. Like, it shouldn't be on the bill. It is confusing. Who's to know you're allocating it fairly? Usually tips are not supposed to involve management, right? So they shouldn't be touching tips. I know it's not called a tip, but if they're distributing extra money to people, they shouldn't even touch it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it makes me feel like it's not really all going to them because they're not supposed to be involved in distributing gratuity like that.
Right. And they're claiming it's not a gratuity because if they were doing it, if it was a gratuity, it would be against the law because California's law says that tips have to go, all of them have to go to non-managerial service staff.
Exactly.
So it's a tricky move. It's a way, but what they're really doing is siphoning off the tips.
Oh yeah, they're siphoning off the tips. They're stealing. They're hoodwinking the customers, and they should remove it. If you can't afford to do business, then close your doors.
Right.
You get behind and put on an apron and serve.
I mean, to me, it's back to this conversation we keep having. If your business model requires wage slavery, you need to go back to the drawing board.
Yep.
Raise your prices, lower some other costs, some kind of way. Because the workers have to be able to pay their bills, and all this little trickery around raising tips or expecting people to tip for things we never tipped for before is not the answer. That's your corporate responsibility. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
Los Angeles hotel workers are out on strike, and that is a big deal because we rely a lot on tourism here, quiet as it's kept. A group of hotels are trying to sue Unite Here, which is the hotel workers union, because they say that they filed an unfair labor practice charge is what they did with the NLRB, because they say that the hotel workers are demanding things that is beyond the scope of what is their right to demand, i.e. they're demanding a 7% surcharge on rooms to help hotel workers afford to live near where they work, and they're demanding that the hotels support a measure that's meant to be on the ballot in 2024 that would require hotels to rent empty rooms to unhoused people. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's true. Like, the profits of hotels are increasing. The 7% surcharge, like passing the cost of what the employer should pay on to the customer. I don't know how I feel about that, because, like, let's just say, I am a room renter and I want to rent a room and you're charging me more to pay your employees. I mean, it's kind of tricky. Far as like the unhoused piece, Unite Here is fighting for that. That's interesting. I support like employee housing, right? If employees, are able, to live where they work or live at their job,
right.
That's fine. But
let the employees live in those rooms.
Right.
Well, the crazy thing about it to me is, and I know this is controversial. For me, the model of mandating that a hotel has to rent to certain people is problematic. To me, I could see taking over hotels and specifically motels by eminent domain and turning them into housing for the unsheltered. I could see that. I don't know how you can force a hotel when you're, yes, in a state of emergency, but beyond that, I don't know. I have to read that bill because on its face, I don't necessarily support that. Right. But as far as that 7%, well, then fine. Don't put a 7% charge on the rooms, but pay the workers enough so they can afford the housing without the 7% charge. Right. It's going to be 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Because if they raise the wages the way they need to so those workers can afford to live in LA, it's going to end up getting passed on to you, the customer, one way or another.
One way or another, yeah. I mean, they just need to do the right thing and raise the wages of their employees because they do a lot of hard work. That's hard work. Cleaning rooms, putting sheets on beds and
all
over
day,
and over again, and then we ain't got no robots to do that yet,
Yeah.
And so but yeah, I agree with you. I feel like that's another way to pass responsibility on to people that shouldn't be passed on. Like if you have a housing crisis, you have tools, you have a budget, you have building permits that you can use to address it, other than forcing hotels in non-emergencies to rent to people that they might not want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a little bit too much control.
Little slippery slope.
Yeah, a little slippery slope.
Well, Sherry Bell, it's always fun figuring stuff out with you. Thank you so much for coming in, and tell us how to follow you.
All right, yeah, you can follow me on Insta at Sherry De La Ghetto. That's where you can find me at. That's where I post most of my content. You know, I didn't mess with Twitter before, and I really don't mess with it now, so you already know that.
Yeah, what about Thread?
You know, I heard some stuff about that, like you can't never delete them. And if you delete them, you delete your Instagram.
Right.
Oh, that's so
that was
silly.
enough to stop me.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Sherry. We got news, traffic, and sports, and then it's a great day to call me. It's Friday, all day on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Good morning, I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Tampa, Florida, a grieving father, artist formerly known as Kanye West,